Alright, I'm back with a Diablo 2 Resurrected video. This re-release came out this week, and I was definitely going to be covering it to some extent, despite the fact that Blizzard sucks and has this horrible harassment case against it that is only getting worse and worse over time. I made the call to cover the game in some capacity, which you can agree or disagree with, but obviously I am certainly acknowledging that this whole situation has been massively screwed up and is terrible. With that said, trying to extract the actual game from all that, I have played the technical alpha of this a good amount, and I have now kind of had full access to the game as a whole. And I am a big Diablo 2 person. I had many instances where I played this game for hundreds, if not thousands of hours, to the point where I was literally addicted to it. I don't think I could ever classify me being addicted to any game except Diablo 2. It got a little problematic in my youth, so theoretically this should be like the thing for me to bring this back. And yet, I do appreciate many aspects of this remaster, but for my personal preference, even as someone who is a fan of the original, after playing Diablo 3 for, 5 or 6 years straight, essentially, going back to this version now and then making so few kind of quality of life changes in the spirit of keeping the original, I don't love it. I'm having a hard time with it. First, what works, I really enjoy all the visual upgrades they've done. Being able to kind of tab back and forth between the old version and the new version is really cool to see, and you can see just how much work, the vast majority of the work clearly went into making the environments, the character models, all this stuff look absolutely fantastic now, while keeping the kind of original dark and broody art style intact. I think they've done a phenomenal job in that department, and I could not really ask for anything more there. The game is gorgeous, and I even like how it plays in a lot of instances. I don't mind the slower pace of combat. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not flying across the screen like I am in Diablo 3 a lot of the time. I think it's okay to go back to that kind of older, slower style, which, especially if you're on Barbarian, as you can see here, is very slow if you're just walking around whacking things with your sword. Hit detection is not amazing. I don't know what's up with that, but for the most part, combat feels okay. The problem becomes with just all of the other very dated things that they have kept in the game. Some things I think were a bridge too far for them in that they didn't want you to have to remake a character every single time you wanted a new build. So now there was just free respecking. With my Barbarian, I was respecking even just based on what weapon I was using at a given time. I pick up a new axe. All right, I'm respecking from maces to axes now. That's something you can do for free, which you could not do previously. Whereas other stuff is just, it's why do they keep this? The stamina bar, nobody likes the stamina bar. I realize that some games still make use of that to this day, whether that's Breath of the Wild or Genshin Impact, or many games still have a stamina bar in some capacity. And yet this game, where a lot of it is just kind of trucking around an empty map, having to toggle between run and walk and draining your stamina from that, is not enjoyable at all. And I understand necessarily why they didn't delete it, because the Barbarian, for instance, has a bunch of skills that are related to getting more stamina and 30% extra stamina in the skill tree. So all of that would have to be changed, and yet it's something I still don't really like. They've talked about this before, but they left the inventory system the same, which means it is a very tiny window where you are always trying to manage your charms and your potions, and it's just very annoying compared to what Diablo 3 ended up with in the end, where it was just a lot more streamlined and you could hold a lot more stuff at a time. I think they may have expanded the actual stash, and yet inventory management here is just exhausting, and I did not miss that at all. Part of that is consumable potions coming back, where you're always having to kind of refill your potions, and it is not enjoyable to just constantly be picking up potions and then putting them in your potion thing, and it's just, I don't love that. Having to have charms just take up space in your inventory, or else you lose bonuses, is insult to injury. I wish there was a separate kind of charm list you could just have, where you pick 5 charms at a time that are active, things like that, but that does not exist. using and managing skills, like mapping them to function buttons and then the right trigger, and just there not being a really easily accessible kind of dedicated hotbar like Diablo 3 or any other game. It feels really dated and really clunky, so I do not like, even though the skills themselves are fine, I don't like how they're managed at all, and I think there could have been a better way to do that. I do not like, I did not miss dying and then losing all your stuff and then having to trek all the way back to that spot and then face the enemy that is so powerful it just killed you. So if you're not wearing any clothes, you have to pick up the dead body and your gold and then kind of escape with your life. This was always kind of an awkward system. I'm okay with like losing your stuff if you're on like a hardcore permadeath type character, like I get that, but this is just a very cumbersome system that I think offers no real benefit except frustration. So it's just, there are many quality of life issues that I don't think they address. I think they did some things. The respecking was good. They have talked about potentially implementing individualized loot in the future. So this is when you would like go on a bail run and it would drop whatever you're looking for, and then everyone would scramble for the same drop. So like literally it was just one drop that you had to share. Almost no games do that anymore. I think it might be an option in like a Borderlands game maybe, but no games are separating out or give loot to like just one pool of players. Like I cannot imagine how that would work in most modern shooters, and I think there is a very good reason that that was done away with. So all of these things are like kind of inherent to the original experience of Diablo 2, and yet to me they feel too dated and too cumbersome to enjoy. I understand wanting to be faithful to the original. I understand wanting to keep original OG fans happy, and yet for me personally it's kind of a bridge too far, to the point where like I don't know how much of this I can stomach. I want to at least play through the game once, but this does not seem like something I would go back and sink a million hours into. It makes me mostly want to play Diablo 3 or even Diablo Immortal, the mobile game that is coming that is based on Diablo 3's all those changed systems. Like that now kind of sounds more appealing to me than this. And I don't know, maybe I'm alone in this opinion, but I don't know, some people on social media seem to agree with me, but you are obviously going to run into kind of the OGs that are going to very clearly say that they want everything to stay the same. And I know there's always been a contingent that believes Diablo 2 is better than Diablo 3. I do not believe that to be true. I think some things are better about it. I think, maybe the animation and the environment design for the time were better. And I really like the updated visuals here, but you will not convince me that once Diablo 3 was, quote unquote fixed eventually, that it's a worse game than Diablo 2. I think it evolved in many meaningful ways, in a way that Diablo 2 going back now to like really lean into that nostalgia and like see what you were experiencing at the time, with how things have moved on since then, it doesn't feel great. I'll say that. So I think they've got a lot right with this remaster. I'm not really faulting them for this, given that I know the challenges that would have posed to change things. It's just kind of how this played out, and being so true to the original. I think it won't land for some people, even fans of Diablo 2 like me. And if you're coming straight from Diablo 3, I think it's going to be extremely challenging to enjoy this, based on all of the things that you're losing. So anyway, just my thoughts. Feel free to disagree with me, but that's kind of where I've landed on this, and we'll see if things change as I go on here.